Hey, everybody. This is Dominic D'Angelo of several outlets, mostly of Inside the Ropes. I'm here today on the Premier Streaming Network if you're tuning in on Friday at 4:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But it is episode 21, Roberto Clemente, 21, with none other than Mr. Rob Van Dam. Rob, welcome back, man. You've had a busy week.
I've had a busy life.
That's true.
Yeah, but down to a little bit of R&R. That's what today's about. So just want all you people who are enjoying this show today to know that you're totally interrupting my rest, man.
What the hell?
Make it quick. What do you want?
Yeah, come on. Let's
Hey, you froze. Okay.
Well, hey, it was a full circle kind of thing for you this past weekend. How was Battle Creek?
Oh man, that was awesome. It was really cool. Great crowd, great reaction. It was really cool that my high school had their homecoming, and it was synchronistically my homecoming as well.
Wow.
We didn't know that, and that I was going to visit the high school to talk to an assembly full of kids in a gym class that aren't paying attention to you but are excited to be out of class. So did that and realized, wow, it's my homecoming and your homecoming. Saw a few of my former high school peers.
Wow.
Saw Brad Crandall and Janie Daly and Chris Hansen, not from To Catch a Predator.
He wasn't there.
Yeah. Ron Roach, who was a year younger, but still had some classes. Yeah, it was cool. We had a good time, and Katie liked Battle Creek a lot, and Battle Creek liked Katie too. She had a lot of fans. Dan Severn was on the card, and James Storm. I didn't see Al Snow, but he was there. And I really liked my match with Brian Cage. You know, he's a athletic freak, so I knew what to expect out of that. It was a really, really good experience, and now that it's over, who knows when I'll be back, but maybe we'll have to make it an annual thing or something.
Now, was that the first time Katie was in Battle Creek?
Yes, it was. It's the first time she saw it. And she got to see both of my mentors, Tom Bennett Sampson, who taught me how to lift weights, also introduced me to the original Sheik.
Oh.
And also Kit Likens, my kickboxing instructor. So she got to meet
Screen door guy. That's the screen door guy. That was
no, that was James Williams.
Oh, okay.
No, that was after Kit. That was sometime after Kit.
Okay, yeah. Cool, man. So now, are you telling me that you went to this high school and you did like almost like a speech and stuff, and none of the kids knew who you were, or were people?
No, I didn't. I'm not saying that. They knew who I was. I think it was a surprise that I was going to be there. That's what I was told. No, I'm just saying, like it's funny because right before we went out there, like they're loading all the kids into the gymnasium and they're talking about other stuff too. I think hyping them up for the homecoming or whatever. And I'm thinking to Katie, like, maybe I'll tell them the karma story, about when I saved Mr. Boyer's wife's car, when it was rolling in the parking lot and then it came back to help me out later, or maybe I'll tell them about this, and I was thinking about, because I didn't have anything planned, I'm just going to go out there and connect with the crowd. That's what I do. And then like, as soon as I got into the gymnasium, I remembered, I was like, oh yeah, I've done this before. This is high schoolers. It doesn't matter what I say. They're all just, they're all just excited to be out of class and chatting amongst themselves, and I didn't really feel like I was connected to any of them. You know what I mean? It was like, let me see how many people connect with me. You guys knew who I am, Rob Van Dam. I'm like, okay, I got like 10% of them here.
That's not bad.
I went to school here. Thank you very much. Have a great homecoming.
You should have told the Scott Norton story.
The what story?
The Scott Norton story. Man, let me tell you about his wife. What a...
No, I did get to tell some stories, but you know what? Just you just put a flashback in my head. One time we were in Washington, North Carolina. Mm-hmm. Myself, Scotty Riggs, Jake the Snake Roberts, and a little guy, and we're all at this similar function, a school assembly with all the kids in the school, but they're younger. I think they're like fifth graders, not high schoolers, so they're a little bit more quiet. you know, and drawn into what we're saying. Anyway, the little guy goes up there and he's speaking, you know, and I remember thinking like someone asked him how much he benched, and he said like 500 pounds. I'm like, he don't bench 500 pounds. No, like Scotty gets up there, you know, and he's like, hey, school spirit, you know, get good grades. I went up there, hey, believe in your dreams, man. You can do what you want to do. Dream big, make it happen. And then Jake the Snake went up there, and he's like, hey, everybody, do you remember seeing me on TV? Yeah. You remember seeing me when I had the snake, Damien? Yeah, that was exciting to see, right? Yeah. I wish I could remember it. And all of a sudden, it just got like a vacuum of energy. And he's like, I was too busy with having so much coke up my nose that the damn whores were shoving up there to even pay attention to what was going on in my life. And I was like, whoa, these are creators. Holy cow, this dude is on 24/7. Yeah. and the other thing that was funny about it was that Cheryl, his wife, was in the gymnasium. Like, she's over there leaning against the wall with the teachers, with their jaws dropped. And Jake's going, I'm thankful to be grateful to be alive here today. And I'm grateful that woman didn't leave me with all the whores that I fucked up. He didn't say fucked. But that was his message basically, though. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this guy's heavy. Hey, Katie stole my lighter. I got to find it.
Okay, no problem. Hey, yeah, I'll do a cheap plug then. Hey, my brother hosts the Jake the Snake podcast, The Snake Pit. You can tune into that. I don't know when it drops. I think it's every Thursday. I could be wrong, but it's on ad-free shows. Go to the Snake Pit. Check that out. It's a good show. They cover a lot on there. Yeah. Jake is very open. So
known him for a long time. I've always been a big fan of his work and always have found him very fascinating.
Oh my gosh, yeah, he's like master of the promo, master of psychology.
Like, she's stuck by my side. Look at that woman right there. She had what it takes to stick by my side when I wasn't returning the phone calls for weeks at a time on the road. And it's just like,
dang.
Can we put the little guy back on that benches 500 pounds?
Like RVD's very inspirational. Jake's like scaring him straight. It's like good cop, bad cop stuff.
Yeah, really.
Always what a 1-2 punch.
Yeah,
Robbie the Barber Beefcake and Jake the Snake Roberts.
Yeah.
I wanted to see how many people did anybody go, you don't remember me, do you?
Yeah, of course. You know, of course, a lot of people did that. Yeah. And yeah, John Lieb, I actually had to look at his picture on Facebook afterwards to make sure that was the guy that I just met, because I knew he was coming, but then I didn't know if I was getting him tickets. Then I didn't get with him, and then I saw this dude and said he went to school with me, and then he didn't introduce himself, and I'm like, bro, come on, man, that was 40 years ago or something. Like, what was it? 89 we graduated, 30 years ago anyway. So, but yeah, I thought I think that could be him, you know, and I had to look at the picture and I was like, that was John Lee. Good. I glad I got to get with him too. And Janie Daly, she was one of my friends in school, and she's a teacher there now. And she brought me to her classroom and showed me the RVD shrine that she has in her classroom.
No
so
way.
That's pretty cool. Different pictures that I had sent or newspaper clippings or whatever, along with the entire Greek mythology library collection that I recently resent to them like 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah, it was 2 or 3 years ago. I sent them every library book that I had stolen in high school.
That's really?
It was like 2 comic book boxes full, big long ones. I used to go in every day, me and Dango both, because we did everything together. We would each go in with a folder and walk out with a new book every day. And man, what a cool collection that was, though.
Yeah,
I was looking at it like I almost want to steal it again.
You're like, you just walk out, see you guys.
Yeah, walk out of Janie's room with it. Like, thanks for showing me the collection. But I guess when I returned, the librarian that was active at that point, inserted them back into the library. But then when a new librarian took over, they just left them out of their new collection because they weren't really in the inventory anymore or whatever. And they waived my fine. So now they sit in Janie Daly's class. If anybody wants to know what books RVD was reading when he probably should have been paying attention to English class or algebra.
Yep. It's the RVD. You have your own library in the high school.
Yeah.
So there you go.
2 shelves big.
Yeah, big word. That's the RVD section. What's the RVD section? Go to the
pretty good. Recommended reading.
Right? Recommended reading from RVD. Let me see. I had a list of things too I wanted to ask you about it. It came to the old reunion here. How was communicating with fans and all that stuff throughout the weekend? Was that all pretty good? And did you have like a crazy amount of line and fans waiting for you and stuff?
Yeah, it was a little different. You know, we did a convention. Well, we did a few promotional things like press conference and stuff. That was fun doing that with Brian Cage. You want to say that to my face for some photos? The night of the show, we did a convention. I was in like my own room, so I wasn't out at the table. It was like with other people, and I was busy, of course, and had to sometimes speed it up because people were getting a little too long. But everyone's so friendly there, you know. And I felt, and I did give people a little extra time. I'm always nice with people and give as much time as I can. But there, everyone had stories to tell me. Hey, did you used to bag groceries at Main Street Market? Yes, I did. Do you remember this guy? I'm like, yeah, I do remember him. And there was a lot of that, you know, a lot of secondhand reportings and sightings. Chris Cooley, I saw him. Thanks for coming, Chris. Brad Crandall. I said Brad Crandall. Yep. It was cool. It was definitely cool to go back to BC. I went by my old house, looked at it, showed Katie, you know, the house that I grew up in, the haunted house, which if we haven't talked about that, a man actually hung himself in our garage before we moved into that house. And I lived with a ghost until I moved out when I was 18.
Holy shit, really?
Yeah, it was a big part of my childhood. And I was like 5, I believe, when we moved in there. Mm-hmm. And so my mom and dad just told me to not be afraid that it was a friendly ghost. And so I always just took it as that. But it was a little bit awkward because I went to school with the family, the guy's family. And it was like, hey, you know, your Uncle Ron woke us up this morning, you know, and it was just, you know, a little bit weird.
So, like, what kind of stuff would go on in regards to, like?
Yes. So lots of noises, lots of footsteps you could hear. Mm-hmm. Most of what I experienced was noises. You know, I remember hearing stuff out in the garage where it actually happened, hearing like a glass jar break. And my dad used to keep nails and stuff in mason jars. I thought a mouse ran across one and knocked it off, but there was no glass anywhere out there. And one time when I was home, our portable radio turned on and I couldn't turn it off. And then it wasn't plugged in. And then I looked at it and there wasn't even batteries in it. So that was like one of the weirder things. But, and my mom and brother had seen like the fireplace door open and close. But like the footsteps and things like that, hearing stuff in another room that I'm not in, that was all the time. Like you could count on that. It was like he was a member of the family.
Yeah.
And the one that I remember the clearest, the last thing that happened, this was as an adult. I was actually with my evil ex. My parents still lived at this house. Mm-hmm. So this would have been early 2000s, probably. We had to get up in the morning and had a 2-hour drive to Detroit to catch our flight. And we overslept. And the ghost actually knocked on the door to wake us up. And it was the most distinct and clearest knock. It clearly woke us both up. It was... You know, and I was like, hold on a second, you know, and had to fumble around and try and throw some shorts on and stuff and open up the door. And not only was there nobody there, the only other person in the house was my mom, and she was downstairs ironing, and it wasn't her. And, you know, that woke us up so we could catch our flight. We would have totally missed it because I guess my alarm didn't set or whatever. And so it was stuff like that always that was never scary to us.
Wow, how about that?
The other neighborhood kids would be scared to come into the house, though.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, it's fine. He just knocks a couple of jars over once in a while. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty wild, Rob. It's kind of neat. I didn't know that.
Yeah. One time I had a kid stay the night. My parents used to be funny about having kids over at the house, which I don't like people in my house. Now, I guess that's where I get it from, you know.
Yeah.
Not dudes. No, I make exceptions, but overall, you know, I'm not someone who like to have parties at my house and have like a lot of people going through my shit and whatever. But my parents were funny about that. I think maybe not super trusting, and it was like a special deal. Once I was old enough, they would go out one time a year, like on New Year's Eve. I'd be allowed to have someone spend the night. You know, it only happened a couple nights. But I had John Lindquist. He was one of my friends from school, spend the night. And of course, he was all freaked out the whole time because everybody knew I lived in a haunted house. And I was like spooking him out, you know, because we were playing Atari 2600. And I would be like, ooh, did you hear that? And he'd be like, what? Are you serious? And he was like really freaking out. I was like, dude, relax, man. There's not even anything to be afraid of. And then we were, it was just he and I in the house. We were playing Atari 2600. And we heard these footsteps upstairs, clear, loud footsteps, you know. And we both looked at each other. And I went, you know, I just, again, you know, was trying to like freak him out. And I was like, oh my God, what was that? And he was like, are you serious? I was going, dude, relax. I go, it's probably just my dog. And then we both looked down and the dog was right there with us. He got up and he ran up the stairs from the basement out of the house, ran out in the backyard, and he wouldn't come back in the house. He was freaked out.
Seriously? Wow.
Yeah. I had another dude try and play the Ouija board there at my house one time, and his hands were shaking so bad. He was like, I don't want to do this. And he left.
He left too, jeez.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's wild. Man, I kind of wish I had a ghost in my house when I was growing up.
I think that's always helped my spiritual, well, of course it has. It helps shape me who I am. And I'm, you know, when I refer to myself as spiritual, and that doesn't mean that I subscribe to an organized religion. It just means that I have a relationship with the spirit world, which I use very loosely, you know, to describe the world beyond metaphysics, that physical actuality that we can explain.
Yeah. No, that's very interesting too, because like, yeah, if you're like into the supernatural and that has happened to you and stuff before, it's pretty wild. That's a good association to have, I think, too. What else do I? Oh, okay. So yeah, you did. I saw today that an interview with Bill Apter dropped with you that he did. Also, it was George Washington who cut down the cherry tree. You guys were talking about.
It was.
Yes, George Washington cut down the cherry tree.
Okay.
But you did defeat Abe Lincoln, though, which is pretty cool. So that's not too bad. What do you think? How long have you known Bill Apter?
Well, since the ECW days, so probably 96-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Probably since about 96-ish. So yeah, I've always gotten along with him really well. He's always told me I'm his second favorite wrestler behind Mil Mascaras.
That's pretty good.
We had a legendary office match. Like one time when we were there, I can't remember who was Sabu and whoever, you know, we were there at the PWI office.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we were getting interviewed, a photo shoot, or we were just stopping by, whatever. He was showing it off. But he said, by the way, you know, I have an office championship belt, you know, that I defend. And you know, we have to have a match before you leave. And I'm like, oh, he thinks I'm playing? So I was like slamming him, throwing the trash can on his head and leg dropping him off his desk, and like really like cranked it up and stuff. And I think we bonded over that. That really made a good start of a friendship.
Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, no, it's pretty wild. He's been everywhere and everything. You think about what he did, like with Andy Kaufman and
I probably heard him. I probably heard him in that match. Probably. What did he do with Andy Kaufman?
So he, I think he helped facilitate the whole connection between him and Jerry Lawler with Memphis. When, you know how like Andy Kaufman went down there, got slapped by Jerry Lawler on David Letterman and all that stuff. I think Apter was a big part of that. Yeah.
I can see that. I
Mm-hmm.
can see that happening.
Yeah, because I think Lawler called Apter, and like Andy Kaufman was in Apter's apartment at the time or something like that, and then that's how they helped facilitate the deal or something. Pretty wild stuff. So it's he's definitely a historic figure in all of wrestling. So another historic figure in wrestling, and you mentioned this. He asked you like who you'd like to face in AEW and stuff, and you mentioned Jericho, which is such a cool, you know, obviously guy to pick. And you mentioned how busy he is and certain things like that. And you're kind of on a different vibe of that stuff. He has so much stuff going on. You're busy, but it's like if you have the opportunity, you're like, I kind of want to take it easy a little bit if the necessity comes around, you know. And
I'm always a little envious of people that can't sit still, because I just feel like, man, I would be so productive because I never run out of ideas. Sometimes I have people just pitch me ideas and they have nowhere to go with it. And I'm like, dude, come back to me when you got a solid plan. Like Shark Tank, you know? Don't just an idea and think I might know somebody, because I got a million of those. Right. I mean, I have screenplays that I've written like a third of, a half of, a tenth of, or even some books. And I mean, years ago, and some of them, you know, I'll pick up again. Some maybe I won't, and I'm okay with that now. But like so many different projects that are always like spread out, and for me, that I don't know, I guess that in a way makes me feel comfortable, because I know I'm not going to run out of shit to do. But I love to do nothing. And people that like retire and they're like, I couldn't sit at home, I'm like, that would not be me. I love being home, relaxing, doing nothing. I love taking in and learning instead of outputting and creating. And that's an issue with my production. Watching YouTube so much instead of editing my videos or working on my autobiography or something, because I love learning and my brain absorbs certain things so that's how I prioritize a lot of times. And I always think when the universe wants me to do something, it'll work out. You know, I'll have 30 days in a row off for some reason, or I'll be laid up, I'll be injured. Like that's going to happen. No, but I always just think, you know, something will work out, you know, and then sometimes I think, well, maybe this is it. October looks pretty loose, you know, maybe I'll get some of the stuff done. But I have like so many things on my list, and not even all business. Some of them are personal. But yeah, I mentioned on the interview, and I compared Jericho to The Rock, because The Rock, news broke out he was the highest paid actor in the industry, which is amazing. Yeah. I pointed out that a lot of people automatically, basic thinkers, would just be like, must be nice. And I even think, wow, I'd work one movie and you'd have a hard time getting me to work again. You know, but to get to that point, man, that motherfucker works so hard. He has to love it more than anybody else, you know, to even put up with all that. The guy getting up and working out at 4:00 and handling, you know, 3 different TV shows and a sitcom and 4 movies and reading script. Who knows what all he's doing? And
the XFL, he's doing the football league.
Yeah, and the T-shirts and everything. And so, yeah, I was talking about Jericho. You know, Jericho, look how many books he's got out already, at least 4, I think, right? Yeah. And the band, you know, he tours with the band and he's wrestling still. And that guy, he must love to stay busy. And I think that's a commendable quality. I also think it's something that I don't have as much as some people anymore. And that's why I'm not as busy. I really, you know, that got burned out of me so long ago. And I think I proved it when I left and didn't go back to full time.
Right. Yeah. No, it is pretty wild. He stays, like, I was just covering something, I think it was for Kurt Angle. Yeah, Kurt Angle, where Jericho went away in like 2005, but before that, he was just wrestling nonstop for WWE, and before that, WCW, and just constantly going and stuff. And it was like, hey, it was time for him to take a breather on it. And then that's kind of like almost the only break he's really taken in a lot of ways, it seems, since then.
I think he must really love it, you know. But man, I don't have that energy. I wish I did.
Yeah, I know. It's like, it's what I get restless in my apartment, but once I get out, I'm like, I'm doing work and stuff like that. But it's like, there's times where I'm just like, dude, I just need a breather. So
I could spend a whole week without leaving my house.
yeah.
And eventually I got to go get, some groceries or something, or make an appointment. But I have everything that I need at home. I built everything around me, and I'm not a socially needy person. I feel like in many cases, I'm different in this way. Whenever I've heard my peers give their Hall of Fame speeches and they talk about how addictive it is to be up there in front of all those people and how they miss it so bad and they hate being retired or whatever, I can never relate to them in that. I always think, really? Like, okay, I don't know. Maybe I just got a really good home life. Maybe that's it. But it's not just it. Because even when I had a shitty home life, I still felt like that. I still felt like my home was my real life and work was my work life. I tweeted, I reposted something on Instagram. It was almost exactly that. It said that you're needed and not replaceable at home. You're replaceable at work. Home is where your real life is. Always remember that. And I thought, I'm going to repost that. That goes along with my ideology. Always has. That's why I stayed living on the West Coast the whole time I was with WWE, even though it would have saved me several hours of flying a week if I would have moved to the East Coast. But I was never going to be one of those people that moved and then got fired as soon as they moved. I wouldn't be able to handle that. Like, fuck that.
Yeah. Ugh. Yeah, no, oh, man, yeah, going through that would be tough times, but yeah, it is very to have that ability to take the break and kind of do it. And when did it kind of hit you too? Because like you grew up a fan of wrestling and stuff like that, and then getting into the business. How long did it kind of take you to be like, okay, this is more like work, and then this is my personal life? Because a lot of, like you said, a lot of wrestlers, that is their lives, is doing that stuff, and like a big aspect of their life. So like, when did that delineage come for you exactly? Do you know when that kind of hit you?
Probably like around the time when I got married the first time, because prior to that, the business was my life, and Girls on the Road would have been my life partner for the night. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Like I was taught everything old school. You and I talked about this at the bar one time. Sabu taught us that the girls in the business are the boys.
Yeah.
And he said, you don't fuck the boys. So that's what I was taught. And the reason that was relevant, way back in 1990, was it 91? I guess it was 91 when I went to USWA. Dango and I both thought that Miss Texas, Jackie
Gata, was that her name? Jackie, right?
No, the black girl. She was Dirty White Girl. No, Dirty Black Girl. I don't know. It was Tony Anthony and Dirty White Girl against Dr. Tom Pritchard and this girl, Miss Texas. I don't know if they called her Dirty Black Girl, but I think it was the same girl that ended up later on. I don't know. I don't want to drag him into this.
Is it Jacqueline? Like Jacqueline?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Very possibly. Anyway, way back then, I'm 19, 20, but we thought she was cute. And Sabu was like, hey, you don't fuck the boys. The girls in business are the boys. So, okay, that's what we got taught. A lot of the guys definitely did not get taught that.
No,
a lot of my peers, you look at how many of the girls you can associate them with. It could be looked at as incestuous if you think of it as a big family, but it's not a family. And the girls are really hot and you're traveling with them. But at the same time, they're with all of your friends and stuff. So that's part of it that you would deal with. But I got brought in that way, but then when Sabu was around his wife, I noticed all of a sudden he rolled the red carpet out for her.
Yeah.
And he treated her like she was a queen when she was around. And that was very impressive upon me. I remember in ACW show, like before it was like, you don't even come in the dressing room if you're not in the business. I was surprised that he even let his wife in the dressing room door. But besides that, he would get her a chair and have her sit down over giving the chair to one of the other younger wrestlers. You know what I mean? Sure. So by being Sabu's wife, she had more clout than the other wrestlers even. And she was just a wife, but she was Sabu's wife. And that's how I took that. And I think because of that, I think that probably helped me cement into me, that I wanted to be like that. And I wasn't going to lie to my wife right off the bat. I brought her around, showed her everything that's going on, for better or worse. She saw everything. I said, I don't want you to hear about all these things and think that I'm doing it. You need to know that I'm the exception. I'm one of a kind. Yeah. Yes, he's married, but he's with another girl tonight. You are seeing that. Yes, those dudes are fucking around on their wives. Yes, those guys are doing cocaine in that corner. Yes, I was like, I have to be honest. That way I come out ahead because I'm proud of the way that I live. And I just want to be with other people that have the same values, So it was like that. And then, my dad gave me the big priority speech before I got married, making that person your number one priority. So that made it way easier. If I was gonna get married and make that my priority over everything, that meant even my job. Like if I was in France and about to wrestle, and my family needed me, and that was my priority, and they needed me to leave and get on a plane right then. I knew in my mind I was making the oath by agreeing with what my dad said because it sounded right to me. Right. So that's how I want to live, Pops. Thanks. That's where I got it from.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's I was curious about that because it's like so many people go into the business and they're like, man, this is my life and this is how I want to live and stuff. But then they can't make that designation between work and personal life. So
yeah, that's why you used to not be able to bring your wife or girlfriend around the business because they'd see what goes on, tell the other wives, start up a lot of drama, the boys don't want their wives there anyway. They're trying to fuck the rats. And that's how it used to be. It was just a closed door society where it was like a good old boys men's club kind of thing. Wow, it's changed so much now to being a basically safe work environment for college kids now. It's like,
right, yeah.
But when I was there, it was like the tail end of that, coming into like this whole new world. But I never, as much as I really liked the boys and hung with them, and I bonded with a lot of them and stuff, I just always knew that everyone was out for themselves when it comes down to it.
Sure, yeah. It's a business, It's show friends, it's show business.
We're all there for the same reason.
Right? Exactly. I was going to follow up with Jericho. He's reinvented himself so many different times. Is there a certain persona of his that you really enjoyed when he was doing certain things? Like when he did whether it was like, when he first showed up or like the serious one or you made the list, any of those stand out to you for like a favorite one of yours for Jericho or one that you enjoyed, I guess, not favorite?
I didn't watch a lot of that, I think, because I was wrestling at the same time,
Sure.
However, there was a lot of build up for that Y2J entrance. That was like, it seemed like that was like a huge signing at the time, like one of the first times I remember so much being put on a talent coming in. So, that was a pretty cool moment. And I don't know, he's always funny. I don't really think of him as being different characters. I guess he is, but I think of him as, he's an entertainer at true heart because he likes to change his look up and change his hair up. And that's like, like real actors. They love doing that. They love to see themselves be different people. And to me, I mean, I've always looked like about the same. I was just thinking like some of my friends that I saw, like out of nowhere, boom, I'm going to go with the Papa Smurf look. Like what? I can't imagine like, what would go through my mind to change that much to where people got to be like,
Who is that guy?
Rob? Is that you? You know, but people do it and they're comfortable with it, and obviously they must feel old to want to look old like that. But I think that, you know, Chris in particular, I think he has that entertainer, and you know, they like to dress up and wear different clothes and all that. That's somewhere again where somebody would probably find me boring, and you know, not so much into that, but more into like, I don't know, if the fans like it, then I like it.
Yeah. Hey, you got the singlets going, so that's the standout there. That's how you.
I don't even like my ponytail. I just wear it because it's easy, but it's not like I would take pride in it, you know. And if somebody, you know, was like, dude, you know, like, don't you know, like the ponytail is like outdated from the 80s. I'm not gonna be like, fuck you, the ponytail is the coolest look ever. It always will be. I don't give a fuck.
Right.
I don't even like when I see other guys with ponytails. Well, now I'm used to. Now sometimes I wonder if I inspired them, because I hear that so much. People say, "Dude, I got my hair cut because of you," and, you know. But yeah, it's not something that I take a lot of pride in when it comes to that, you know.
Yeah,
and I go by other people's opinions a lot of times too on stuff.
Yeah.
Colors, and even, I don't know, logos, stuff like that, you know. Like, I have some artistic sense, but it's limited to a degree to where I like feedback on it from other people, you know. Even if it's like, hey, Katie, do you like this logo this person made? You know, oh yeah, it's badass. Or I was thinking, you know, that the yin yang needs to be bigger. You know, what do you think? You know, maybe, but it's not something that I feel like I have a special skill in when it comes to looks, fashion, or, you know, matching anything, whether it's logo, fonts, colors, shapes, meshing different non-contrasting energies in a platform of art. I think it's also subjective that I'm like, I can't believe people have opinions and think they're right and everyone else could be wrong when it comes to like art or dressing. People dress so different from each other. I can't believe certain people are like, oh my God, what is he wearing? Like, so ridiculous to one person. That person doesn't give a fuck what you think. You know what I mean? They're so comfortable wearing that. And it's like, oh, you don't wear white after
Labor Day or whatever.
Like, that's never been my world, and I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, you got a good sense of style about you, though, Rob. I think there's certain things. I know when we talk back and forth, or like we're working on something or a project, you'll be like, "Hey, what about this?" or putting this in there, and it's good.
I understand energy. I understand energy, and I understand balance, and that really overlaps into a lot of useful areas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Editing the movie Headstrong, I didn't know the scholastic editing principles that Joe Clark was taught, or how to necessarily add music and cut the volume down halfway and bring up the intensity of their voice here and there. But I could feel it and I could suggest it, and then he could do it.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. Well, that's what you showed me too when we did the compilation thing. It was like, dang, you knew. It's like, okay, get exactly what he wants. You know?
Yeah,
that's good stuff, man. Other peers you happen to mention, and that are also in the news at this moment. You mentioned Christian. Have you seen some of the heel work he's been doing recently in AEW? It's been pretty top notch shit.
No, I guess not. I saw him. I saw on social media the little clip of him slamming Darby Allin into the steps. What the fuck?
Yeah. So that was a crazy. Yeah, that was a crazy spot. But what he's been doing is just like this, like very conceited asshole, basically. But like he's got this addiction of asking people how their father is, and that if they don't have a dad, he like he's like a heel about it. Like if they, like several people he's been doing that with, and then he's got the young guy Nick Wayne with him now, and it's just like it's just so bizarre, but it's very, very dark, and he's doing a really good job with it.
If they don't have a father, then he heals on them
he heals
for not,
on him. Yeah, like
for
he's
not
like,
having a father, or he
yeah.
becomes a father.
Well, that's what kind of happened with this Nick Wayne guy. He's kind of become his dad. Like he was healing on him because he didn't have a dad, and then his like mom was in the crowd and stuff like that. And then here at the end of the night, when Edge made his debut, this kid turned heel and like joined Christian. So now he's like his heel.
Isn't he with Luchasaurus?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So he's with Luchasaurus.
I heard him say like Luchasaurus is his only friend.
Yes.
I heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, so now this Nick Wayne kid is now with him as well, and he's like I only think he's like 17 or 8, or maybe he just turned 18 or something. But he's a young kid in the business, but pretty well done stuff.
Is someone besides Luchasaurus then?
Someone besides Luchasaurus. So now he's got Nick Wayne and Luchasaurus with him.
Does Luchasaurus have a dad?
No, he doesn't. So that could be part of it too. That could be part of it.
Katie pointed out that Christian uses my name in all of his promos. She says that he says damn all the time. And once she pointed that out, he'll say like, I'm damn fine with it and whatever. And once she said that, like every time I see him, that's all I think of. So when I see him, I'm always just like, hey man, how are you? I'm damn fine. I'm doing damn fine.
Thanks for calling me out.
He does. I was like, I should be using that gimmick, not you.
That should be me.
Because people say, "How are you?" And at times I'll say, "I'm doing damn fine," or I'll say, "Fantastic," But that is something that I should have jumped on probably 30 years ago.
You could still try to trademark something. We can
whole damn show, yeah.
Whole damn show.
But I mean, it's damn. It's good to be back. I don't know. We played with it a little bit, but I didn't own it. But I'm not letting him own it either. I'm owning it now.
Yes. So, okay, did you hear that Edge came back too, or he debuted in AEW?
I did. Big news.
Big news. What was your relationship with Edge like, and how do you think of him overall, all as a star kind of thing too?
I think, I've always liked Edge. We've always gotten along good. We've always been good friends, good respect, no dirt, no mud, it's weird. I mean, to me, I think, that I kind of felt like we were like on the same caliber. It's crazy to think that he could have been getting paid so much when he had that huge deal with WWE. I don't even imagine that would have been an option for me. Like, I don't even think that, but who knows what could have ever happened. But to me, that's one thing I think of when I think back to that. But I mean, I think they liked him a little better anyway when I think about how the matches went. But I don't know. I always liked working with him. I was so young and immature early on when I was in WWE that excuse me, or maybe I don't know when this was, but when Lita jumped ships, I was a little hurt over that just because I felt close to all the players involved. And I remember thinking, I was hurt that Edge could do that to Matt, not knowing all the details and everything, but just feeling like, wow, a bro screwed over another bro. And when I look at going through that time, I feel like I was just like so young compared to now, and my perspective of the world and life and the universe and everything was just like so immature and had so far to grow that it's strange that I allowed myself to even feel that way, because really it wasn't any of my damn business.
It's like there's, to your point, like there's an aspect you don't know about, but like when you're in that moment and you're at a certain age where you can't have the foresight to think about that stuff. It's, that's just part of life, and you kind of look back on it and be like, damn, yeah, I just have a different perspective on it now, that, an added perspective that I didn't have back then. So, but yeah, it should be pretty interesting to see what he does. He seems to be very gung-ho about wrestling there full time. And, I know he expressed a willingness to help everybody backstage and stuff like that, and it seemed like a new kind of lease on life for. And like you think about it, he had how many of those years? Like 9 years where he thought he couldn't wrestle anymore. So I like him kind of get this opportunity. It's like, okay, it's a new horizon. He's been with WWE for like 30 years, so he's not, and
he didn't leave there injured. Like he left there and can still wrestle full time.
Yeah. Like his contract just expired, I think like September 21st ish or something like that. And later, 9 days later, whatever it was, he debuted. And so, no injuries or anything. Knock on wood. I hope he stays healthy and everything like that, because I think he can contribute a lot and like make AEW kind of reestablish itself after Punk leaving and stuff. So. But yeah, I'm excited for it. So I've always liked Edge too. Just so it's good stuff, man. All right. So we have a wrestler spotlight this week. It's a good one too. We are going to talk about Rey Mysterio. So, when did you first kind of catch wind of Rey? Just about who he was as a wrestler, So he debuted in ECW in '95, but did you kind of get a sense of him at a certain point? Do you remember?
I don't remember when I first had seen him or heard of him. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you that. I do remember the first time that I remember talking to him.
Oh, okay. When was that?
That was at an ECW show in Philadelphia when I was brand new there. Mm-hmm. So this is '96. I probably knew who he was before this. Was he on that pay-per-view AAA versus WCW when Worlds Collide? When Eddie Guerrero and Art Barr wrestled against.
Let me look that up real quick because I have him ECW notes. I don't have WCW.
When Louis Piccoli wrestled as Madonna's boyfriend.
Oh, so was this
That was the first time that I'd ever seen Mexican wrestling, I think.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, when Worlds Collide. Oh, I know what you're talking about. So I'm looking here. Let me see here. I see Eddie. What's he's on here? Yeah, I want to see if he's on here, right? Just type find Ari. Yeah, he was. I think. Yeah,
if he was, that would have probably been the first time I saw him. I think.
Here, he might have fought Juventud Guerrero. I think. If I can find that player. Let me go up here real quick here. Yes.
I remember Art Barr and Eddie wrestled.
Let's see here. So they fought. Okay. Fuerza Guerrera, Madonna's boyfriend in Psychosis, defeated Rey Mysterio, Heavy Metal, and Latin Lover in a 6-man tag match. And then Perro Aguayo defeated Conan in the main event in a steel cage match. And then, here you go, Rob. This is it. Octagon and El Hijo del Santo defeated Art Barr and Eddie Guerrero. And that was in a mask versus hair match, too, for that one. So 5 matches on the card. And yeah, Rey Mysterio was on there.
You said that was 95?
94, I believe.
94. Really?
Yeah, let me take a look here.
Holy crap.
Yeah, can you believe it? Yep, November 6, 1994 in Los Angeles, California.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, I was 23. Holy crap.
Well, guess how old Rey was then? He was like 18.
Wow, yeah.
Or maybe he was 19, but it's like...
He started as a kid, I know.
Yeah.
So the first time I talked to him, though, was I went to ECW in January of '96.
Okay.
And it was probably January, if not February. It was very soon when I was introduced, because I didn't know my way around the Viking Hall, the arena, 2300 arena, as it's referred to now. But back then, it looked so different. They've made it so nice now and put up walls and showers and dressing rooms, all kinds of stuff that didn't used to be there. It used to be like a really big open warehouse kind of thing. where we dressed was partitioned off so that it was like a room. And then when you went through a door with this wall, and this wall, by the way, is where a lot of Barry, was it Barry Bloom, the guy who made I'll give it a sidetrack now. The guy who made Beyond the Mat.
Oh, is it Barry Blaustein or whatever his
Barry
name
Blaustein.
Yeah.
He got sabotaged in a lot of his VHS tapes that he left around when he wouldn't be looking. Some of the guys, I'm not saying it was Pee Wee, but some of the guys would take the tapes and like shove them in that wall, you know, because there was holes in the wall and shit. And whenever they tore that down, they might have had some useful stuff there they could eBay. They never made it. Could have been, you know, like single copy shit. Like, oh my God, I interviewed so-and-so and I can't find it. But anyway, there's a little dressing room back there, but when you open up this door into this huge warehouse area, it was huge, and that's where they kept the floats for this parade, and that's what the building was all about, was storing there was an outhouse out there, and that's what we had to use when we had to go to the bathroom. An outhouse in this big open area. I had to pee, and I'm walking out there. I think the outhouse was busy, so I'm just waiting my turn, and I heard someone say, "Rob, psst, Rob," and I looked, and I didn't see anybody, but there was a you know how like with a parking structure that has a slant, you could see like in between the slants, you could see like a space where you could see somebody looking through.
Yeah,
it was like that. Somebody was underneath this ramp. And I couldn't really see. There was a hole in the wall, and they called me over there, and I went over there and looked, and it was Ray calling me over there, and he was like, "Rob, do you smoke weed?" Isn't that amazing? That's the first thing I remember Rey Mysterio saying to me.
How about that? How about that?
Well, yes, I do.
You're talking to the right guy here.
Yeah. And he invited me into this little cubby hole. And he was down there with this dude that used to be in the front row. We called him Dreads. He had the dreadlocks. And this dude was crazy. Nice guy, but he was nuts. He ended up joining wrestling school because he wanted to fight Raven over something that Raven said about his girlfriend to get heat during a wrestling show. And they brought him to the school, you know, Perry and Saturn and them guys, and beat the shit out of him, of course. But man, he was a nice guy, but he would bring the strongest weed that I'd ever had at that point. Yeah. I'd never had really, really good weed. I lived in Orlando, and I was smoking shitty weed. I really was. And I would get a little bit of what they called hydro once in a while, but most of the shit was like brick weed. It was like hard, crunch it up, you know, cut your fingers. It's hard to tell what's a stem and what's a leaf.
Right.
And man, this stuff smelled so good. It was so good. And he had the glass pipes, and this dreadlocks dude would bring it. And me and Ray and that dude were under there smoking. And all of a sudden I was like, whoa, I love you guys. And always been friends with Rey Mysterio since then. I wonder if he remembers that. But also I became friends with that other dude. And man, he was so far out there. I was always fascinated at how crazy he was.
Man, yeah, you run into some characters. I tell you what, like wrestling fan wise, there's some interesting ones for sure.
This guy used to tell me in Sabu that we were like some God spirits reincarnated or something. Like he had names for us, and he'd name all these characters, and we didn't know what he was talking about, and we were just like, man, this dude's out there. One time I was sitting at the Oregon diner with him, and we're sitting across the table, and I'm just like normal. I'm just like, this dude is absolutely nuts. I'm just looking at him. You know, like, am I nuts for hanging out with this guy because he's so nuts? Or is it okay that I'm just entertained that he's so nuts? And the whole time he's telling me, like, no, I'm serious. You don't know, but you are Pyra, the god of fire, reborn again. And I, someday all the maidens, all the virgins and maidens are going to come down and bow at your feet, and they will all be yours. You'll have the power. He was like so far out there, and I'd just be like, you got more of that weed, bro?
Wait, what are you getting hash browns and Oregon Diner?
Yeah. So we're sitting at the diner, and he's talking all this crazy stuff like he normally does.
Uh-huh.
And in comes Kimona Wanalea.
Oh.
And I happen to really think Kimona Wanalea was hot. I was like very interested and happy that she sat down right beside me.
Yeah.
Cool, a little bonding time. Let me talk to her, get to know you, whatever. Hey, how was your night? All of a sudden, dude across the table with the dreadlocks, all of a sudden he goes, oh my God, are you serious right now? Like, am I supposed to put over that tits and ass? Like, this is part of the show right now? Like, I'm supposed to stop everything just because you walk in looking like that? Like, dude, this fucking show is over. Are you really being fucking serious right now? And I was just like, and she got up and left, and I was like, whoa, dude, you really are fucking crazy.
Yeah.
You just fucking, I couldn't believe that he did that, and I was like, you don't have to leave.
Come on.
Yeah. And then the guy came out and said something, about your food will be out in a few minutes, guys, or something. And the guy went back in the kitchen, and I was just fucking with the guy,
Yeah.
And I said, man, you were pretty rude to that guy. He goes, what? I go, man, you didn't have to treat him like that. He was just trying to say our food is ready. He goes, was I? I go, I don't know. He got up. He got up after I said that. He walked right back into the kitchen right after the guy to go apologize to him.
Uh-huh.
And I was just like, oh my God, this dude
this guy.
Yeah. He wasn't there that long. It seems like only like a few weeks, but man, he introduced me to some really good weed and increased my standards on what I should be putting into my body. Because really, dirt weed isn't good for you. You're getting all the bad and none of the good. So it really does make a difference. It's not just about getting higher. It's also not just about the THC content either. People think that, and I'm all the time looking at pre-rolls that I got that are like 16%, 18% THC, but they're fucking killer. And so pay attention to that too. It's the terpenes, and it's a whole bunch of stuff, and the combination of the cannabinoids in it. But anyway, crazy dude. And let's get back to whatever else we were talking about. Rey Mysterio.
Man, I tell you what, those fans experiences, I could only imagine the ones you run into sometimes.
That's the only time I remember even like coming close to bonding with Kimona. Like, I never had a one-on-one talk with him.
That was it. It's like, dude, what the fuck are you doing here? Oh man. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
All right. So Rey was actually trained by Rey Mysterio Sr., and it wasn't his dad. It was actually his uncle. And he made his debut in 1989 at the age of 14 in Mexico. Rob, he had some names he had to combat with as well, maybe on the Polish Prince level. So his former names, now these were in Spanish, but his former names were the Green Lizard, and this one's probably the worst, is Hummingbird. Those were his two names that he originally went with. And then finally, I guess they were like, let's call him Rey Mysterio Jr.
Yeah.
So he worked with AAA, like you said, for about 4 years before signing with ECW in 1995. And in September of 95, he actually made his ECW debut at Gangster's Paradise against Psychosis, which he won. He was only 20 at the time. But I watched the match this morning, and he already had the tools together where it was like good selling for a baby face, great presence, like that he was able to engage with the crowd a lot. And I obviously like the athleticism and the crazy stuff that him and Psychosis were able to do is that. And both were super over with the ECW. Like and they did some extreme shit too, like throwing chairs and like getting all that involved too. So incorporation of like the Lucha Libre plus that stuff.
No.
Ray actually said that Conan put a word to Paul Heyman about signing him. Yeah, so you weren't there yet, but at that point too, do you remember if Sabu even talked to you about Ray beforehand or anything like that, or what you just remember is just first talking to him, pretty much?
Yeah, I don't remember if Sabu mentioned him or not before I saw them. I know when I saw them, Sabu was like, these guys are cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I did see. I saw Ray get inducted by Conan into the
WWE Hall of Fame.
Flower Alley Club.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I got to know a lot of this history that you're talking about from Conan's speech and from Ray's follow-up speech as well. So I learned a lot about this. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, like I just assumed that his dad was Rey Mysterio Sr., but I didn't know it was his uncle. So, I mean, I was like kind of learning how it was going along here too. But yeah, it's pretty fascinating stuff. But he was only there for half a year. So, like, when you met him in January, he was done, I think, by March at that time coming up. And
Wow.
and then he signed with WCW. Then obviously, like, he, along with several other cruiserweights like Dean Malenko, Psychosis, Chris Jericho, Juventud, Eddie, they all established the cruiserweight division, but they were all in ECW beforehand too, which is pretty wild to think. So I'm curious. I mean, I know Conan went to WCW too. I'm curious if that was just a big reason for a lot of the Lucha Libre coming into WCW from ECW. Was it Conan's influence? Do you know anything about that? And how that all kind of came to be, where all the luchadors started in ECW, but then they went to WCW? Do you know anything, any details or anything regarding that?
I'd hate to put out any misinformation, and I'm not sure what the true story is about it. So I won't get too specific, but that's the way I recall it, was that nobody was using the little guys until ECW gave them a chance to be showcased, showed what the smaller guys can do, working their asses off, and then WCW signed them all up. And it does seem like Conan was part of that. Probably he would have been looking at it like helping his friends out to maybe a bigger company or whatever. But from ECW standpoint, it was looking at it more like just another one of our things getting ripped off.
Yeah, because it's like you guys set the bar for a lot of these, what a lot of mainstream wrestling would see later on, but like you guys started off, where it's like those kind of names and stuff. So no, it's I thought it was very interesting to kind of like look at that and be like, wow, it's like crazy that all these luchadors would start off in ECW and all of a sudden the cruiserweight division's a big thing in WCW too.
And not just little guys. I think Paul was the first one to bring the Mexicans in. I think that's the way it goes. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean all that stuff. It's
well, no, I think even like did Eddie and Benoit, they were in ECW before WCW, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So they got a chance to really show. And Dean Malenko, I think he was part of them. I think because I know they were a throuple for a while and wanted to do business all or none when it came to, at least that's the legend, when it came to negotiating with WCW to stay or go, and ECW was on the table at that point. But I believe that them coming to ECW and being showcased and then going to WCW was just another one of those same thing, like, yeah.
They were all kind of tied.
People use ECW as a platform to get somewhere else, and you can't blame them. But I never wanted to leave because I loved the style, and I just wanted to be able to stay there.
Well, this kind of ties into the next part I was getting at too. So, like in 1998, at Super Bowl IX, Ray and Conan lost a hair versus mask match against Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, and then Ray took off his mask. And so this was like in a 2006 interview that I found that this is a quote from Rey, what he said after losing his mask. I was strongly against it. I don't think WCW understood what the mask meant to me, to my fans, and to my family. It was a very bad move on their behalf. The fans wanted Rey Mysterio with the mask, and losing it hurt me a lot. It was also very frustrating that it didn't come as the climax to a feud with another masked wrestler, but in a throwaway match. The same thing happened to Juventud and Psychosis, and psychology-wise, it was a bad move by Eric Bischoff. I think the fans understand that I was in a position where I had no option. I either had to lose my mask or lose my job. So it was like, yeah, to your point of going to WCW, like you didn't want to leave because there's that creative aspect that kind of gets taken away. And you look at the position that Rey was just in with that. Like, you know, he got into a situation where creatively he had to lose something that was a big part of Lucha Libre and losing his mask. And that was a big aspect too. I remember that happening and being like, dang, it's like, that's a lot. Like Rey Mysterio was Mysterio. He was mystery.
Yeah. Now all of a sudden he's a little boy. And I guess, and Eric must have known that. So that must have been what he thought was going to make more money, was showing the little boy's face. I don't know. And I don't know. I mean, I don't mean to sound like Eric's target was to do that and make money off of Rey. Rey could have been the pawn of making the money off someone else, because that's the way that it works. You know, like you said, if it's a throwaway match and if it's all about the other guy, you know, then it feels like it means even less than if they're trying to capitalize on you and just making a wrong decision. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. And there was I know Rey later said in this interview too, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said that a lot of it, you could tell it was like it was a big man's business, and that was the mentality too in WCW at the time. So it was like, you know, getting associated and like the relationship Eric had with some of those guys he was saying kind of played into that, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, it sounds like it was about the other guy, and then so
Yeah.
Rey just got left, you know, in the Rumble with the crumbs to pick himself back up, and then they did that for a while with the mask off, and then fortunately he was able to fucking recreate the same OG Rey Mysterio, and people were able to just forgive that moment in time overall in his career. And so they know he's a fucking really handsome guy, you know.
Yeah.
He's a really good looking baby face. They know that about him, but they still are excited to see him behind the mask now. And so it didn't kill it. It just was a really stupid time for a little bit.
It was, yeah. But there was a kind of a silver lining into that aspect, because at that point too, after he got masked, he became like known as the Giant Killer because he defeated guys like Kevin Nash, Bam Bam Bigelow, and Scott Norton. So I always love in wrestling the David versus Goliath storyline that kind of goes on while they have, and Rey's like the epitome of that. Do you overall like that type of story in the ring too? And do you think there's like a certain amount of believability that can come with it, or like your philosophy wise when it comes to that kind of stuff, a small guy fighting a bigger dude like that is?
It's kind of like what Spike Dudley did, right? When he'd be fighting Bam Bam Bigelow or anybody, Bubba Dudley. It's like how they built X-Pac, right? Because X-Pac was a small dude, but back then him doing the moonsault off the top rope was to a standing Scott Hall was such an unbelievable athletic move. That was the finish.
Right, that was it. That's how he beat him.
They caught him 1, 2, 3, and it was like, whoa, this kid is small, but look at them moves.
Yeah.
It wasn't as hard to stand out with athleticism back then. The standards and expectations were a lot lower than they are now. And you know, that's what you do. Every match is a story. Mm-hmm. If the two guys have a serious physical difference, you're not normally going to ignore it. It's going to probably be a factor, you know? So there's that. And I'm not saying you can automatically tell what the story is. You know what I mean? Like if it's you versus Adrian Adonis, you're not just saying, okay, well, this guy dresses like a woman, he's going to be a bitch, because he'll fuck you up. You know what I mean?
He'll fuck you up good.
Yeah, big, tough, big, really, huge dude that has wear makeup, running around with a gimmick. But yeah, when there's definitely if I'm fighting One Man Gang or Bam Bam Bigelow, maybe Bubba Dudley. I don't know. That the size is always a factor. If I'm especially if I'm wrestling someone smaller like Little Guido or Spike or someone like that. I don't know, say Red. What's that dude's name? Red.
Amazing Red.
Amazing Red.
Amazing
yeah.
Red. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like he did a cross body from the ring to the floor on me, right?
Yeah.
And I just caught him, and it was like I didn't have to. Like I just knew I'd be able to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I'm sure I'll be able to catch him, so I don't need to worry about that or practice it or whatever. And we just that happened in the match. He jumped over, boom, and I caught him and I put him on the guardrail and did the leg drop on him. That's going to always be a factor, just like it's a match. If a guy is like the strongest man in the world and you're fighting him, his strength is going to be a big part of his story. If the guy's really fat, if the guy's really skinny and slippery and snaky, if the guy is smooth, if he's jacked, whatever, that's always going to be part of the story. So when it comes to someone really small like Rey Mysterio beating big guys like Kevin Nash and so forth, you got to do it right to make it. It can happen though. It can, that's the thing is like you gotta get into that frame of mind where instead of being like, no, that was stupid. Like, yeah, that could happen. Hey, who knows? Like, shit. How about UFC 3? I think it was my buddy Keith Hackney, White Tiger Karate. I think it was a former Kempo, but dude from Chicago. He fought. I just talked about this last week. Why am I talking about this again? Didn't I? Yeah, Emmanuel Yarbrough. And then I said, wait, I don't know if that's his name or if that's the guy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That is Emmanuel Yarbrough. And the other guy was Emmanuel Rodriguez that I fought in the Tough Man contest. Emmanuel Yarbrough, big 600-pound sumo wrestler. And then Keith Hackney was like maybe 205. I think it was 205. Could have even been as light as like 190-ish. But you would think, just looking at that, you put these two guys in a cage, you would think the story is the big dude's gonna, squash that little dude. He's gonna get a hold of him and squeeze him and stuff him into his belly button, and the guy won't be able to breathe.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's not what happened, though. That's not what happened. He caught him like with a ridge hand, boom. And then when Big Dude went down on his hands and knees, he couldn't defend himself anymore. And Keith just kept bam, bam, hammer fisting on the back of his head because everything was legal back then. And he won the match. And so for people to say like, nah, that would never happen in real life, and 205 isn't, I'm not saying Rey Mysterio's 205, he might be 150. I don't know, but it's the same thing. And Emmanuel Yarbrough is at least 300 pounds bigger than Kevin Nash. So that makes up for it. Keith broke his wrist and then couldn't continue the fight that night, by the way, from pounding on dude's head. But
they called the fight, though. They called the fight and he won it.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. How about that? Fuck. I got to go back. That's UFC 3?
I believe it is.
Okay. I'll have to look it up. I'll watch it. So that kind of maybe almost answers my next question. I was going to ask, if you did end up having that dream match against Mike Awesome, where it was you with the TV title, him with the world title, do you think there would have been that David versus Goliath kind of storyline coming into play a little bit because of the size difference that he had in comparison to you? Or would that be more of like established champion versus established champion, or maybe a little bit of both?
I think it would be established champion and established champion. As far as the David and Goliath goes, I think that match, in my mind, would have been more like like I don't want to say smaller Goliath because Goliath is a big word is too gigantic of a word to use, but I'd say like Titan versus yeah, I think Mike Tyson wrestled as Titan, didn't he? Or was that a different guy? Anyway.
That was Fake Razor, I think, that wrestled as Titan.
Oh,
Rip
anyway,
yeah.
I see it more like two Goliaths compared to normal people. One Goliath is like 1.5 times the other Goliath's strength. So it's not like David. It's like I would try to match strength with him and stuff. I would not come out ahead, but maybe I'd be able to do some things that would impress you with, maybe I'd be able to like scoop him up and be able to, how like nowadays, like everybody, like we talked about realm. Now people don't know the realm because people don't do it because of that, because they wrestle out of their realm. We see a lot of times like a dude, even if he's small, like he'll grab a guy and like hold him up before he suplexes him, then boom, and like do like a belly to back suplex or something. Even holds him up off the ground before he does it even, and goes from there to show extra strength. Stuff like that is ways that takes out the Davy from the Davy and Goliath, because those guys are doing leverage type moves with their strength that shows that they're not going to be squashed. And so, they're just simply outmatched, maybe.
Right.
Strength. Yeah.
Yeah. So a different level of storytelling where it comes to that, that makes more sense. That does make sense.
I wouldn't be gorilla pressing him or anything like that,
Right. You wouldn't be doing that, but
yeah.
When you first met Ray, were you surprised with his height? Did it kind of catch you off guard at all, like in regards to like him being in the wrestling ring, or was it like it still makes sense for him to, even though he's that kind of size?
What make sense to me?
His size when you first saw him initially, like perform in the ring and stuff like that. Did it take for you, like especially back then where it was like you're so used to having bigger guys in the ring and everything like that?
But that first card though, that
the AAA
when Worlds Collide, there was midgets on that, and maybe even in that 6-man. I'm not sure if that was. But there was earlier in the card, and so I kind of feel like I just got exposed to a huge spectrum of luchadors that apparently come in a variety of size from A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way up to M. That's what it looked like, because I remember seeing some of the midgets, them wrestling each other, and then Ray, and I mean even like, I don't know, La Parca, whatever, wasn't a big by any means. You know what I mean? So it's like seeing all those guys up to whatever some of the bigger ones would have been. You mentioned, I can't remember his name, some heartthrob dude or something, it seems like. But I remember there was one.
Latin Lover?
Yeah, I think maybe that was the guy. Maybe he was like the jacked one. But anyway, I think being exposed to that spectrum probably made me just accept Ray for what he was.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense too. Well, you guys started teaming together in 2004, and then on December 7th, 2004, on an episode of SmackDown, you guys became the World Tag Team Champs when you defeated Renee Dupree and Kenzo Suzuki. You and Ray gave a leverage pin on the ropes to get the pinfall. So, like, you cheated.
Oh.
But it was because of retaliation. Because at No Mercy 2004, they cheated to beat you guys. So it was kind of like,
we owed them, man.
Yeah, we owed them more. What stands out to you about teaming with Ray? Like, how kind of cool was that? You guys did a lot of cool combination moves. I got to watch that match earlier today. So
I love teaming with Rey Mysterio. I have fun being his partner. For some reason, I don't know what it is, but I automatically kind of feel like a big brother when I'm with him. I don't know why. When I'm with him in that capacity, anyway.
Yeah.
It's weird, but I like talking to him, trying to make him laugh. you know, and during the whole match. And I like his move set, so I like being creative and thinking of moves we can do together in a tag, in and out window frame. Boom, boom, you do this, boom, I'll do that, bam. And there's an endless supply, it seems like, of opportunities that we can do there and get really have a lot of fun with that. So I always enjoy it, and we always, of course, have great matches. We also we got to tag in England for a company that didn't stick around very long, but I think it was 2017.
I saw that. I think it was 2000. I think the date year was like 2018 or something. But yeah,
okay.
around that realm.
Maybe you're going to get to that, but I was excited to be tagging with him again, you know, and it's fun. It's fun when I'm out there, and I love him anyway. Like, he's one of the best dudes I can remember ever meeting, you know, just his energy, everything about him is, you know, just good energy. I can't imagine anybody knowing him and saying something different.
Yeah,
you know,
no, all you hear is positive things about Ray. I have to ask this. There's an urban legend going around that he was, you know, when he would come out to the ring, he would like put his mask up against another little kid's mask that was in the crowd. Like, he would go and put his head up against people's heads, little kids' heads, and like keep moving around. He would go that down the entryway while his music was playing. Well, the rumor is, the one time he did it, I think this kid posted on Reddit that when he was a little kid, Ray did that to him, and he's like, "Do something with your life, you little bitch," and then like kept going on like through the crowd to the ring. So I was always wondering, is that something Ray would maybe do, like his sense of humor?
Not, I can't imagine him doing that unless he was trying to make somebody else laugh.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Nobody else could hear him because he was saying it low to a kid, and he thought the kid could understand him. Then no, I can't.
Okay, that was the urban legend going around.
That's so not him, you know.
Okay.
I mean, if he thought I could hear him and thought the kid didn't speak English, then I could see maybe. But even that would be like, you know, a stretch, because he's just all good energy. And so I can see a lot of other guys doing that.
Right.
You know?
And no, Ray is always like super positive when you like get to see him kind of behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Let me see. So this match too, Renee Dupree's obviously in this match when you guys were. Is that kind of when you guys developed the friendship, or was around that time? Because you have a pretty good connection with Renee, right?
Yeah. I guess. What are we in? What year? 2006?
2023. Oh, 2000. This would be 2004.
I guess. I mean,
he was pretty young back then too.
He was very young, but I know that I worked with Renee when I teamed with Booker.
Okay.
Yeah. And I know that I teamed with Renee when I worked with Renee when I teamed with Kane.
Okay.
Yeah. And sometimes Suzuki was his partner, or sometimes it might be the other French kid.
What was that guy's name? It wasn't Rob Conway. No, Sylvia and Grenier, right?
It could have been either one, actually. Now that you mentioned both of them, it could have been. I feel like I worked with both of them, with Kane, Booker, Rey Mysterio, and I'm not really sure what the chronological order was as far as those go.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You talked about doing like innovative moves and stuff with him, and yeah, there was a lot of that I noticed too. Apparently, the 420 move where you do a belly to back to Ray, and then you guys do a double leg drop onto the person. So I thought that was a pretty cool spot that you guys did. But yeah,
me and Sabu did that before, and me and Bobby Bradley did that in aerial assault.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That might be the first time I did. It might have been with Bobby Bradley. I'm not sure. Me and Bobby did a lot of moves that I would end up bringing back later.
Nice. That's kind of cool. You could incorporate that with Ray too.
Yeah, and not a lot of people saw the what was it called? NWC from Las Vegas. You know, yeah.
The one guy I did the Jets podcast with, he knew exactly what that was.
Cool. Yeah.
And he knew Bobby Bradley, all that stuff. So yeah. Scott Mason. But I wanted to ask too.
People love the story, the 420 leg drop. That Paul came to me and said before they call it this, Vince wants to know, is that a drug reference? I said, what do you mean? It's just the name of the move. And he said he wants to know is it a drug reference? What should I tell him? I said, no, I said 420. We named our move that because it's we're dropping 4 legs on him. That's the 4, and 20 is our combined shoe size. I wear 12 and he wears 8, which were the facts. And so he went back to him with that. And that's why they were able to call it the 420 leg drop. They didn't know what 420 meant. I guess nowadays they would just get on the phone and Google, 420. Oh, I can't say that. I don't know. But for whatever reason, they didn't use a reference then. And so that's the funny story behind that.
Well, Taz said exactly that and gave the reasoning. That's the reason for the name on SmackDown. He was like, oh, yeah. He's like, it's because they're dropping 4 legs on and then that's their shoe sizes.
That makes it funnier.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty funny. Yeah. Well, get this. So I forgot about this, too. And maybe I didn't even remember it. But fast forward to June 7th, 2006. This is Mick Foley's birthday, by the way. Andy Martin's. Dayton, Ohio. You face Rey Mysterio, who is the world heavyweight champ, and you beat him. This is the go-home show before One Night Stand. This is an episode of Raw. So on commentary, I actually have the brief clip here near the end here. So we'll play a little bit of it. Pretty cool that you were not only so that week you beat the world heavyweight champ, and then you beat the WWE champ, John Cena that following Sunday. It's pretty wild to kind of think about that.
He was the world champion?
He was the world heavyweight champion at the time, right?
During that match, but it was a non-title match?
Non-title match, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Son of a bitch.
How about that? Quite the street crop. So
yeah, I remember I just felt completely unbeatable that night. I was so excited that we're bringing ECW back, and I'm going to be able to showcase myself as an artist in the best possible light. And the whole field is created for me. I'm such an organic, perfect fit. This is my style. This is me. And we're going to do it on WWE's stage, on their fucking outlets, their platforms, and everyone's going to get a chance to see us, and enough of them are just going to love it to where it's going to be able to survive. And I'm going to be able to extend my career another 10, 20 years and keep going like this. Cause bam. And I just, that's how I felt and I just felt, like my old self. And I felt, like, yes, I'm here to show you guys how I like to do it. And so that's how I remember feeling. That was a SmackDown versus ECW is the way that match was booked. And it was before we did before we started our ECW shows and before we did the pay-per-view, which led to the ECW as a third brand.
Yeah, it was kind of neat because you could see, Joey Styles is like storyline wise, he's respectful to JR and he's respectful to the WWE talent, but he's shitting on Jerry Lawler the whole time too. It's like, yeah, it's a good step for everything like that. And that excitement, the build of like how you guys did ECW at that point in time too. Like you did the previous product justice when it came to that, because it felt like that and it felt elevated too to that, mainstream platform. So it was all really, really cool.
Yeah. Good times.
Yeah, very good times. So, all right. We're almost wrapped up here.
The bestest.
Yes, the bestest of the best. Fast forward to now, and Rey Mysterio is a WWE Hall of Famer. While he's an active part of the roster, which is pretty wild. I don't think that ever happened. Like an active member of the WWE roster at that time gets inducted in the Hall of Fame. Were you there for his WWE Hall of Fame induction? You said the cauliflower early, but were you also there for the WWE?
Yes, I was. Okay. Yes, I was.
Yeah, Conan gave a heck of a speech there from what I hear.
Oh, yeah. I forgot. I probably learned a lot from that one, too. I guess both.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Or no, maybe it was Conan getting inducted. No, it was Rey Mysterio at the Cauliflower Rally Club.
Cauliflower. Yeah. Well, that's pretty. It's crazy to think how long they've been together too, Conan and Ray. That's like just getting in the business like that.
It's pretty cool though, you know, when you make a bond with someone that becomes, you know, like real, you know, thick as family.
Right. You know, like you guys and you and Sabu, it's like Conan and him. It's very kind of cool to see that. And, you know, okay, I got to talk about him too. Dominic Mysterio is one of the top heels in WWE at the moment. Did you meet him when he was a kid?
Yes.
Okay. He gets booed out of the building now in promos. Like he can barely get a word out, and he starts getting booed immensely. And he just embraces it. Any particular thoughts on his work? And when you were seeing him as a little kid, is it pretty wild to see him where he's at right now too?
Yeah, I mean it is because he still looks like a little kid to me.
Yeah,
that's part of the heat with the kid though. But yeah, he's always been around. I didn't know that he was going to pursue that, but then I remember when he was training, and he's obviously doing very well, and he's very effective. So cool. I was at the match at WrestleMania. That was the only match that I saw part of because I was busy with the Connor Cure. But I sat for a little bit of the Bad Bunny and Dominic match, and I liked what I saw. And the crowd was so into it. So that's what it's all about.
That I tell you what, Rob, that was going to be part of my notes too. I was there too, like covering it for media, and that I think that was the match of the night for like Ray and Dom like fighting each other and stuff, and then everybody getting involved. It was awesome. Like what they did for that was a lot of fun. So yeah. Legacy overall of Rey Mysterio. Obviously, I think like from the luchador aspect to him coming in, and he kind of really transcends the business in a lot of ways. You think of like the legendary luchadors like Blue Demon and Santo and stuff like that. He kind of, and Mil Mascaras, he made the crossover in a lot of ways, it seems. Is there anything that you kind of think that Ray leaves that a lot of people don't maybe not factor in what he contributed to the business?
Besides what you just mentioned?
Besides what I just mentioned, if there's anything.
Man, he being a cross-cultural superhero role model like he is, he's introduced a lot of kids to this imaginative world where they can not only believe in superhero like fantasies and luchadors, but they can believe in themselves too. I don't know what convention we were at recently, but this little kid came up. It was WrestleCon. This little kid came up. Everybody met him. He blew us out of the water. We were so impressed by him. Little kid, under 10. He's under 10. I don't know how old he is. Young, 8, maybe. He's got a mask on. And he goes around, and when he comes to your table and he hands you like a business card, you know, and he tells you, and it's so professional, like everything, like you can tell his dad like really helps him out a lot. He's got like a whole presentational thing, like a little cartoon of him or something, and he gives you his little thing and says, "Hey, I'm going to be a wrestler when I grow up," and it's just like right away, like. I don't know if he asked us to or what, but we're like, "What's your Instagram?" And we're like following him on Instagram, and it's like, I believe you. You know, I mean, like you're the way you're focused right now at this age. If you keep up at it and still want to do it, I'll, you know, see you in the business. I don't know if I'll still be in the ring or not, but
yeah.
Maybe, but it's amazing though. You believe in this kid, and it's just like there's no doubt that he got introduced to his whole his dreams and
motivation.
Yeah, his whole inspiration, everything. There's no doubt that Rey Mysterio was a big part of that,
Yeah.
And so, besides just being such a bridge gapper between smaller guys and proving that if you're really good enough, you can overcome a lot of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Not just size. You can overcome a lot of everything if you got enough talent. He proves that um, without being specifically narrowed into just his size. So there's a couple things that and just the whole world of what could possibly be.
Right. No, it's
It's just,
the influence he's had on kids, and yeah, like that underdog mentality. Almost, he put that to a mainstream level on things for pro wrestling for sure. I think too. More so than a
yes.
lot of people did that before that, or even now. So yeah, man, good stuff. No, I thought Ray was going to be a good subject to talk to you about because it was. I know you guys tagged together, but just kind of that he's almost an enigma too, where it's just like he's got his own style, like really put the aspect of luchador into the mainstream. So yeah, cool stuff, Rob. Cool. We'll do like 2 Ask Rob real quick, and then we'll wrap this baby up.
All
Let's
right.
see. Okay, here we go. This is a random one. I don't know what it says. Okay, here you go. If Cena wins, we riot in One Night Stand 2006. Was that for real? Do you think the crowd would have really rioted if Cena won?
Yes.
Yes.
They would have, to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly what defines a riot. They would have all found something to throw towards the ring.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if, and the chairs I don't think would come up. Maybe the ones on the floor would in that building, but if so, the chairs would have been eventually tossed into the ring and anything that they could have got. So at least that would have happened. I don't know if that constitutes an actual riot or not, but that would have happened.
To that level, it would have been like you wouldn't have. That's something you wouldn't have seen in a very long time. So at that point in time, too.
Even when Big Show beat me for the title in Philly, everyone threw all their drinks and stuff into the ring afterwards. Not their chairs, but now we're talking the Manhattan Ball Center, the
Right.
ECW crowd, complete ECW crowd, and complete ECW home. So that would have been ugly.
And that the build to all that too. I remember that, like thinking about that too. I was like, what are they gonna do if like Cena wins that? Like, there's no way. That's made me think about that.
And all it would take is like one slip on the rope, maybe boom, maybe I knock myself out or I can't continue or something.
Yeah,
It would have changed history.
change the whole game, man. Change the whole game. Okay, well, this is probably an obvious one. Who is a friend from the wrestling industry that is close to you that you can go and talk to when it's needed?
Well, I talked to Sabu.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know
Katie's
if it's
technically in the industry too, so you can go and talk to her.
that's true too. Katie's the closest for sure.
Yeah.
That I can talk to, and really the only one that I probably really open up to. Definitely, she gets open up to a lot more than the other. She gets a lot more insight and access to my thoughts than anybody else in or out of the industry. Trying to think if there's someone that I go to ask like advice, like mentor, and there's really not. I think I gotta be that for myself for the most part.
Mm-hmm. Is there somebody that you can kind of confide into or bend the ear of, like, even when maybe you were in like the thick of the industry, say when you were full time and like like a decade ago or something like that? Is there somebody else that besides Sabu or somebody?
The Sheik when he was around.
Or yeah, well, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I talk to Eddie Mansfield.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I could see in certain circumstances wanting to get his insider perspective on certain things, but then and under certain conditions, I wouldn't open up too much just because the response would be too predictable coming from there.
Yeah.
Just know, just knowing Eddie, I could pretty much know how he's going to answer something. So I mean, that's the best answer I think I got for that one. It's kind of always been ooh.
Yeah. Well, no, that's
But like me and Booker used to ride together, you know, in WWE during the thick of things when we were doing a lot of road days, and we could bounce things off of each other totally.
oh yeah, I bet. I bet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you guys at that time too, like were going up, like fighting on the card and stuff like that, like trying to, get to the top of the card at that juncture too. Around that time, you were both, you know, what was that around like 2003 or so? Would you say around that time frame?
It's all a big blur.
Right.
I think so. I think so. And when we were tag team and whatever, but you know, we wouldn't talk a lot about business, but
Mhm.
definitely we would either one of us would be a good sounding board for the other one. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
Hey man, is this just sound fucked up to you? They told me boom, 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 boom. Does that sound right to you? It's fucked up, right?
yeah.
You know.
Yeah. That kind of stuff. No doubt, man. Cool. Well, Rob, do you want to do RVDology this week?
Yeah, let's see if we can leave somebody with something that might help. But what did we talk about last week? We talked about
We followed
being
up with
humble.
humility last week. So,
Yeah.
and what we all kind of got from that. So, just kind of keeping that in mind too, as the weeks go on. And so, it's definitely a tough thing to kind of like. Obviously, we all got our sense of pride and stuff like that, but finding the balance of like, hey, laughing at yourself and being able to just kind of like, we're all gonna get humbled at some point in time too. Is kind of the aspect that I was kind of thinking of throughout this week as well. So. Yeah, it definitely still plays a factor for sure. So cool, Rob. Let's
Yeah. So, you know, like I always say, all of my ideologies are relevant to each other. So they're all going to be consistent, non conflictual, if that is a real word. So this isn't that different. I'm just going around the corner from that. I want to talk about being proud and
yeah.
pride itself.
Okay.
Uh, and really, what does that mean? Because pride is one of the what are they not sins? What do they call them? You know, Brad Pitt did the movie about it. The seven. You know, being you know what I'm talking about? The seven.
Seven
I
death
don't know.
sins. Seven deadly sins.
Is it deadly
Yeah,
sins?
it's deadly sins because there's that's
Why
the
that
movie
doesn't sound
Seven.
right to me. Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
For some reason, the sins doesn't sound right to me, but anyway, pride is usually the factor that often makes decisions for us, and irrelevantly so. Um, Usually, like I always say, it's best to make decisions from an intellectual point of view than an emotional point of view. Emotions get in the way and block and cloud good judgment. They do. They just do. Um, so you know, we're taught to be proud of so much when we're young and we're in school. We're taught to be, you know, proud of our country. Right? We look at the flag. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty. We're taught that we're proud to be an American. We're taught that we're proud to go to our school, you know, and we show school pride by going and watching when our school competes against other schools. But when you think about that, what does our pride tell us about our school? Are we better than the other schools? Because that's what I want to think about. Where's the line between thinking that we're better than everybody else? And is there a line? And is that what pride means. I certainly know that, little Billy, when he wins the spelling bee every time, he wins the 40-yard dash, he wins with the basketball, he's the best athlete, he wins first place in everything. His dad is really proud. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean that his dad thinks that his kid is better than everybody else? That doesn't sound like a very good thing. But argumentatively, I think that we all do think that we're better than everybody from a certain perspective. And that's because we use our own values to judge. We don't use other people's values. So if I'm using my own values and I'm saying, what's best, what is best for me? Is it sitting here doing this tonight, or is it going running the streets and getting drunk? Well, to me, I think I'm making the best decision. That's subjective, but it's because I'm using my judgment, my values, and I'm literally going with the decision that my machine makes when considering all of those things together. So I think that we all do that we all are biased at the very least towards our own values. And why wouldn't we be? If we don't think our values are the best, then we trade them in. When it comes to being proud, it's just so vague, and it's like so put on us. So, okay, I'm proud of my school. And you know what? I was taught, be proud of yourself. Don't let anybody insult you. Well, wait. What's that mean? You got to have pride. You got to stand up for yourself. What does that mean? Like, it's time to get physical and confrontational instead of just letting something slide? Like insult. Pride can be insulted. Your ego gets insulted. And then, wait a second. How am I standing up and showing that I'm proud if I'm letting the thing that I'm supposed to be proud on get trampled and disintegrated into nothing? Like, am I not doing my job being proud? I'm proud of our family. My family's the best. Is it the best? Is that what you're saying? I mean, everyone's proud of their family. I hope not everyone, but I mean, that's one of the things that's common to be proud of. I'm proud that I live. Hey, my street's the best. What? How's your street the best? Why we waste our time a lot of times putting pride into things that we really shouldn't give a fuck about, that we should see as just at least equal. Let's just put it that way. Let's say it's at least equal. All right. Mm-hmm. Friday, there's a gay pride parade here in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. Pride gets associated with being gay. What does that mean? That means the people, they're proud that they're gay. So they want everyone to know that they're gay. Does that mean that they think they're better than non-gay people? I think so. From that subjective view that I already described, that means their values, and they're saying that they think their values are best for them. And I'm not going to argue that they're wrong about that. That biased perspective that we all have, I think, does tell us that the way we do things is the best. But it also tells us that the things that we own or things that we're part of are the best. And that's just lame. Like, why is that? Why is America the best country in the world? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. You know what I mean? But I mean, it starts when you're a kid. It's like, dude, those shoes suck. No, they don't. My shoes are better than yours. Why are you taking pride in something like that? You know what? Even at an adult level, it becomes about colors. You know how many people die over the colors red and black, blue. I'm sorry. The Crips and the Bloods, right? Yeah. And I'm not trying to invoke any ire from those guys to come after me, but they take so much pride in what? In the color? Like, you're going to kill somebody that has a red shirt on because you think blue's a better color? And obviously it's things that the color symbolizes to them that go along with that. But when it comes down to the simple thing, it's about the color, right? So pride. Gay people are proud that they're gay, and they've been oppressed. So this is their chance to get out and show that they're at least just as equal as other people. That's cool. I mean, that's really what it has to be in order for it to not be arrogant and egotistical. It can be biased, and it can be like we're as good as other people. Some people are proud that they're white. You didn't do anything to be white. You didn't work with that. That's you just happen to be white, and then but you're proud that you're white, and you think that white is way better than black or yellow or green or whatever. And it's like, did you study and then you decided that the things that the life that white people have is superior, and that's why? Or is it just the skin color? We're all biased. We all think that our certain things are the best. Now there's expressions like, hey, whatever you do, take pride in your work. Why? What if it's just a fucking job? What if I don't like cleaning up the dog shit and I have to do it because it's part of my probation? Why do I have to be proud of that job?
Yeah.
It's something that is just like beaten into us. And hey, be proud of whatever you do. No. What if you're a fucking child predator? You should be proud of that. People say be proud of whatever you do. Maybe what they're saying is do only things you can be proud of. If that's what they're saying, and they just reverse it, I can get behind that.
Yeah.
I can get behind that. Do just things that you're proud of, and then be proud of them for the right reason, and then be proud because your reasons are at least as equally as good as other reasons. That's the only way that it can be. It's the only way that it makes sense. You know what everyone is the best at? Being themselves. With the possible exception that Luke Hawx might make a better Stone Cold on the Young Rock than Steve Austin actually makes. But besides that, everybody is the best at being themselves. So that's the one thing that use your bias and be someone that you can be proud of and do things that you can be proud of. And it doesn't mean that you're better than everybody else. Your school isn't better than every other school. Your car isn't better than every other car. Why is everything so competitive? How about just doing your best and being at your best, knowing that you're nowhere soft than anybody else? If that's what pride can be, then all right, then I'm proud. I used the word proud a couple times tonight on this, on the show. I said, I'm proud of the decisions that I made in my life, or I'm proud of my career or whatever. But I don't think that makes me say that I'm better than everybody else. And I don't think that people take it there. When I'm in character, I'll tell you, I'm the whole fucking show. There's who better than,
Than RVD.
That's, yeah. I was going to say who better than Canyon, but now it's who better than Brian Cage, because he says that now. So I don't know which way to go with it. But in real life, like it's just like I talked about, being humble, having a little humility, having yourself down to earth. In the wrestling business, I've talked about this before. To get in, you got to believe in yourself. You got to think that you are the best. First, you got a chance at least as good a chance as everyone else, okay? But then you got to go past that. You're going to beat everybody else. And here's why. You're better than them. You can do this better. You can do that better. You're going to last longer. Everyone's going to love you more than they love everyone else. And then once you finally break into the business, you better drop that fucking attitude. You'll get kicked out of the dressing room. You can't go into a dressing room with the wrestlers and tell you're better than all of them and shit. They'll say you're dressing out in the hallway. It's hard to navigate your ego if you don't have someone like RVD helping you along. That's what I'm trying to do. Keep your pride in check. And like, what are you really proud of? I mean, if it's a color or I don't know, man. The Death Row record change. I've been watching the guy that got killed, Keefe D. I'm sorry, Keefe D got arrested for the Tupac Shakur murder. I don't know if he was. Yeah. So and anyway, he's been admitting he's part of it for a long time, but now they're holding him to it. Anyway, part of that was they're saying that they're saying P. Diddy offered $1 million for anybody that would get a Death Row Records chain, and take it off their neck. And that was just part of the story. But anyway, if you hold pride in something that's so materialistic, I feel like you're just like waiting to be offended, waiting to be insulted. And that's a pretty edgy way to live. So think about what you're proud of. Think about if you really need to be that serious about it, or if a little humbleness added in with your pride could make you maybe adapt a little bit better, then you have my permission. If you don't want to fucking take pride in what you're doing, then fucking do something else. If you want to take pride in who you are or who you become or whatever, then hey, man, change. Be someone else. Do something else, and then we're good. But if you're ashamed and you're not proud, that's no fun way to be either, is it? But
nope.
Yeah. So anyway, that's it. That's how we'll talk about now. Keep your pride in check. It's good to be proud, but I'm not gonna hammer it in you and say, if you let anybody talk down to you, if you let anybody call your mama a name, and you don't smoke a fool, then you ain't got no pride. There's good decisions that have lifelong consequences and bad decisions with the same. And I would say at that point that, it's one thing to keep your pride in check, and it's okay to keep an insulted feeling inside and not show it sometimes too. If you need to do that to get through. But that's all I got for you this week, dude.
I like it. And Rob, it's like, and you mentioned it too, how it kind of ideology ties into one another. And like, I'm thinking too about like competitive, like pride. And we talked about being competitive and that stuff too. And how that really comes into a factor too, is like, if you think about like, oh man, like I have to do this better than that person. I gotta, and like, yeah, to the point of like, hey, taking pride in your work is like an aspect, which can be positive, but if you're fucking, scooping up dog shit for probation, it's kind of another story. So, but yeah, very much good stuff to tie in there.
I feel like it's pounded into our head, and then it's hard for you sometimes, for us, to distinguish where the line is between us feeling like we're better than everybody else. Because I just feel like, growing up, like take pride in your nationality. Like, okay, Polish people are the best. Woo. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's that way about everything, okay. Who's better, girls? Yay. Or boys? Yay. Boys are better. You know what I mean? It's like, why? What makes you fucking better? But that's what we're taught. And we're taught like it's just a good thing. Like installing pride in somebody is good for their self-esteem. To an extent, but also keeping them in check is important too. So I think that's what we just did today.
Yeah, and pride is such a great word too, because it can be a positive connotation, but it also can have a negative connotation too. And it's just like, factoring all that in, what is important to be proud of and stuff like that is an aspect. So good shit, Rob. Cool. Anything you want to plug? Anything you got going on? Or you just
no, yeah. This I'll be around. So yeah, no conventions or matches coming up to talk about this week. I hope there's a video or streaming service or some kind of viewable platform to watch the match from Battle Creek, because it was awesome. And, people don't get to see too many RVD matches nowadays.
Right. And you're going up against Machine, Brian Cage. That's a double whammy, man. Who better? What a better match to see than that, huh? So,
right.
Well, I'll have to do some research. If I find it out, I'll be sure to tweet it out and all that stuff. And I'll watch it. So, guys, if you like what you're seeing, you can go to rvpod.com up there. You can also go up on Rumble. We have full episodes up on Rumble. So just type in One of a Kind with RVD on Rumble, and it should pop up there. But you can get it early every Friday at 4:20 p.m. on the Premier Streaming Network. You can follow Rob over there at The Real RVD, and you can follow me at Dominic D'Angelo. And check out our podcast, wherever you get them podcasts, at One of a Kind. Now I'm pointing the wrong way, up there. So there we go. Rob, this has been a fun one. Cool. Can't wait to do it next week, man.
All right, cool. Thanks, Tom.
All right. Cool, guys.